From the back roads to the boardwalks, from what exit to what just happened. This is Dirty on Jersey, the Garden State's realest headlines, short, sharp, and straight up Jersey. And welcome back, everybody, to a new-ish episode of the Dirty on Jersey podcast that I'm trying to get organized. I got a little sidetracked with my mini cast that I started to post on YouTube, so if you can go over there and check that out. But I decided to cover the news again, and I don't know how often I am going to cover the news because there's just so much that happens so quickly. Sometimes it's just to get it all in one dopamine dump real quick, so that's what I'm kind of thinking I'm sticking with. And, this week did have a decent amount of news in it. I got some good news stories too, so that's one thing I want to make sure I highlight here is some good news stories coming out of New Jersey. So I got a couple, let's get into it. This past week, ex-Congressman George Santos reported to prison. Former U.S. Representative George Santos turned himself in at a federal facility in Ferreton, New Jersey, to begin serving a 7-year sentence for wire fraud and identity theft. His request for a reduced sentence was denied. I don't know how I feel about this because I honestly am just so sick and tired of politicians just doing shady stuff. It's just so obvious, and some people are protected, some people aren't. It goes with both sides. It's not even just like a Democrat or Republican. And this is a down the middle thing. Like, damn, you guys, all you politicians are corrupt. There are some good ones out there on both sides. I will say that. But that was an interesting story this week. Also, this week we had a judges rejected Habba's appointment, and they chose somebody else. So a U.S. District Court panel declined to keep Habba and selected a senior prosecutor, Desiree Grace, as an interim U.S. attorney instead. The Trump administration at that time wanted, they pushed back and they didn't like the fact that Alina Habba was no longer the U.S. attorney for New Jersey. So what ended up happening, President Trump's legal team got involved and were able to keep his personal attorney, who is also now back to being the New Jersey state attorney, U.S. attorney. Alina Habba is back in charge of that office for another 210 days via a technical appointment, despite the court's panel's rejection. So we're seeing the justice system at work, and where sometimes the law could be, go both ways, where it does play both fields, where certain people can view a law a certain way, and it actually allows them to do certain things extra, like, say, keeping her on for an extra few days. It's interesting to see how both sides play, because there's just so many laws out there, it's hard to follow half the time. But yeah, that happened this past week. And also what happened this past week there were 6 tremors that shook Morris County in one day. They experienced 6 minor earthquakes across Randolph and Mendham from a magnitude 0.7 to a 2-pointer, prompting concern but no injuries or reported damage. Now, this is the exact same area where about a little over a year ago this past April, I believe, is when we had a earthquake here. I think it was only like a 4-pointer maybe. It wasn't that bad, but I was a decent amount away from it, good 40, 50 miles away from the epicenter, and we felt it pretty good. And, it's just interesting to see how we keep having more of these tremors and then sinkholes and then, these drones overhead. So that's a whole conspiracy episode that I would love to do, and I'm thinking about doing it. So, yeah, maybe soon I can do that as like a one-off episode. I think I've talked about that before. Anyway, kind of ending on a little bit of a good news story, but it first was a little bit controversial. So there was a bat flip that caused a ton of controversy this past week in a Little League game. In Haddonfield's 12-year-old Marco Rocco was suspended over a celebratory bat flip after he hit a home run. It got so bad that this kid was going to be punished because he flipped his bat after hitting a home run. This kid's in Little League, and he's hitting bombs, and it's incredible to see what these kids can do. So did he get a little bit too happy? Maybe. Did they need to suspend him because of it, stopping him from going on to the next game to be able to play for championships and stuff? This is ridiculous, these laws and things that they follow. So his family ended up filing a restraining order to reverse the suspension. A judge sided with them so that the kid's going to be able to play. Is it a lesson learned for him? Maybe don't celebrate too much, but it's hard to control your happiness when you're playing like that. That's what you want to see the kids. You want to see them happy, and throwing the bat, flipping the bat. He didn't throw it at anybody. He just flipped it. So maybe give him just a verbal warning. But New Jersey. And now I'm going to try to end it on some good news. So I don't know if you heard about it, but a few weeks ago there was a Jersey Shore lifeguard that ended up actually getting impaled by an umbrella. And that was only a few weeks ago, and she's already back on the job. It was a freak accident where she ended up getting struck by the umbrella. But it's just amazing to see the strength of how tough this lifeguard is. She is just an amazing role model, and she deserves a ton of respect. And a ton more lifeguards deserve a lot more respect than people realize. Like, they put themselves out there, even in dangerous weather. They got to go out and take care of business. They don't mess around. So shout out to her, and shout out to all the lifeguards out there trying to keep the beaches safe this year. So they're doing the best they can, and can't mess with Mother Nature. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that show. I'm trying to see how this is going to evolve, see how often I'm going to do this. See, this is actually what I want to do. I do enjoy doing this and getting the shows ready and stuff. It's just, when life happens, sometimes it's difficult to get the time to do certain things, and you don't get to do it as much as you want. So you try to do as much as you can with what you got, and that's what I'm doing here. So appreciate you guys listening, and as always, if you know, and if you don't, we'll tell you.